Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I don't know how to put a cool background. I think I'm not. I can do it in my computer. I don't know. So I have this boring background right now. Okay.
But I lost my background anyway, so don't worry.
So yeah. As Nelly said, I identify myself as a cyborg because I unite myself with technology in order to extend my senses beyond my natural senses, so that I can perceive further well, with the senses that I have. But first of all, yeah, I'm gonna share the screen so I can see it. Oh, sorry, yeah, never done this. How can I make this bigger? I'll move this. Present. Now, so first of all, I want to say that actually, yeah, I'm a choreographer and I'm a dancer. So I've been studying dance and movement. And then when I was studying dance in college, I wanted to perceive movement in other ways because I think my research was to encounter movement that not only came from humans, because there are many things that move around that we don't perceive. So actually looking for a movement that goes beyond the human movement. Also, another thing that that I encountered when I was studying is that we were encouraged to use technology in our art. But actually, when I grew up, I wasn't never interested in technology at all. I was actually kind of very hippie, and there was a phase that I was actually anti-technology also because it always made me feel like very cold and distant, the technology. And when I saw some art pieces with using technology, it always was very, I don't know, like very visual, like they could see the machine, and it had the feeling that I didn't relate to. But then with the research of this, I realized that actually, if we use technology as part of the dancer and as part of the artist, it would be a more natural union. And then I found this a bit more according to my views. And then with this research of looking movement beyond the choreography or like the dance studio, and using technology, I started uniting myself with technology in order to perceive movement in other ways. And then I did a first experiment, which was kind of off. I don't know if you see that I had in my hand. And then these I would point at people, and then this machine would tell me the speed of the people walking in front of me. So I would know if someone was walking 3 per hour or 5 per hour or 7 per hour, depending on this. But this had some inconvenience. As you can see, that the first that I had to point at people, and that was weird and maybe kind of rude, no? That I had to focus. And then also this would tell me I had to look for the speed to see the speed of the people walking in front of me. But I didn't want like to see it, to have to look at it. I wanted to feel it, to have this new sense in a more organic way, that I didn't have to look and to focus on it. So in order to do that, we transformed this type of cloth into a pair of earrings. So if someone was walking from right to left, I would feel a vibration on my right ear and then a vibration on my left ear, and depending on the internal vibration, the people walking in front of me. So and also I could perceive movement with my eyes closed. That was also another experience. So after experiencing this for a while, I realized that actually there were some interesting thing for me, that depending of where you are and your context, you tend to walk faster or slower depending of where you are. So there's like this common movement sense that we all have. You would probably walk faster if you are in London than if you are in Rome, because there's a common movement sense. And I was very interested in that, so I did a project of defining each capital city of Europe by the speed of the citizens. So I traveled to Lisbon, to Madrid, to Paris, to London, and I wanted to define cities by the average speed of their citizens. And doing this research, I realized London, they walk very fast. Stockholm, they also walk very fast, not Oslo, for example, they like more calm. And like the slowest capital I was in basically the Vatican City, because this just people never run there. It's a just basically a long line of people waiting. So yeah, I created like a movement dictionary from the capital cities. And sorry, like I couldn't download because the internet I have is very slow. So this was the video of me walking. And then after experiencing this movement, the speed of the people I had in front, I decided to turn around my earrings. And actually this allowed me to feel what I had behind my body. I feel that all our senses are focused in what we have in front of our bodies, but in the back of our bodies, we have very dead sensory speaking. So I decided to add this extra sense. So if someone was walking close to me, I would feel vibrations. And it's actually a sense that we give to cars, like the car, when it gets very close to another car, it makes a sound. But actually, lots of people don't feel that they have people very close to them. I don't know if this happens to you, but I usually like to walk fast in cities. And I don't know how your city is because you're all from very different places, but I get really annoyed when I want to walk fast and there's people in front of me blocking the way so I cannot go through. So I think everyone should have these sensors. So our way of moving through the cities would be very, very different. And after experiencing the movement that I had in front of me and the movement that I had behind, I wanted to perceive a more universal movement. There was a moment that I didn't want my sense depending of other people. And then I imagined myself alone in the planet. I was like, if I would be the only person here on Earth, how could I perceive movement? If there's no other people, well, is there a movement somewhere? And then I realized that, of course, the Earth is constantly moving, not only rotates by itself around the sun, but it shakes constantly through earthquakes. And then I thought it would be amazing to be connected to this huge and natural movement like an earthquake itself. And then it's when I created the Seismic Sense. So I had some implants in top of my feet that were connected to online seismographs. And whenever there was some seismic activity on the planet, I would feel a vibration inside my body. And depending of the intensity of the earthquake, the vibration I would feel would be stronger or less strong. And I call this the seismic sense, the sense of feeling the seismic activity of the planet in real time, like this new sense. At the beginning, I had to get used to feeling all these vibrations constantly. It was like, yeah, because at the beginning, like I would be very distracted. Every time there was a big one, I thought that something very bad would happen, but actually no, there's many big earthquakes and nothing bad happens. So 99% of the earthquakes that happen, there's no bad consequences, no? And this was like for me a new learning. And yeah, like at the beginning, if I was talking, I would feel a vibration. I would like stop talking, I would get distracted. When I was sleeping on the night, in the beginning, I would wake up more often, but then I got used to it. Also have to say that I sleep very peacefully. Like I'm one of the persons that have very easy sleep. So for me, it works, maybe not for everyone. But yeah, at the beginning, I had to get used to it until it became like a new sense, like was very integrated to me. Yeah, and a way that I have to describe this new feeling like this, I felt that I add this extra beat inside myself. So in a way, I felt like I had two beats, like my own heartbeat and then the earth beat, having its own rhythm inside my body. And I see all this as cyborg art. For me, cyborg art is the art of creating a new sense. So it's the art of designing your own perception of reality. there are many things that happen around us that we don't perceive because our senses are limited. But I think that now with technology, we can decide what senses and how our perception can be. What senses do we want to have? How we want to perceive this reality, designing our own perception. And so the artwork of a cyborg artist would be the creation of a new sense. For me, the seismic sense is the artwork. But the thing with this artwork is that it happens inside the artist. Like the problem of cyborg art is that the artwork also happens inside the artist. So in a way, we are the only audience of our own art because it happens inside. It's because we design our own perception, and then we are the place where it happens. So in a way, we are like our own museum. So so this is the I guess the handicap. So in order to share what we feel, like in order to share these new senses, we create external artwork. And one of the pieces that I have Nelly described, it's called Waiting for Earthquakes, where it's a bit like it's a piece that it's based on real time. So it's a bit like a waiting room. That's why it's like waiting for earthquakes. So it doesn't have beginning or it end. It can last 10 minutes or it can last hours. And I usually do it in museums because for me it seems more like a living sculpture. And it's an invitation to the audience just to wait and listen to the earth for some time. So in the piece, I stand still, and whenever there's an earthquake, I move according to the intensity of the earthquake. So it's like a duet between the earth and myself. Actually, earth is the choreographer of the piece, and I'm just the interpreter. So in a way, the cyborg art also makes earth the artist, and we ourselves are the channel of the input that she gives us. Also, like, of course, like it's based on real time. So if there are no earthquakes, there will be no dance. And a lot of festivals sometimes worried about this, but usually there's always an earthquake, there's some activity. So I usually always end up moving. So that wouldn't be a problem. Another way that I have to share this is through percussion. So I call this seismic percussion. So in this case, Earth is the composer of the piece. I have two ways of doing this. One is based on real time. So the rhythm of the piece is based on the movement of the tectonic plates that are happening in that moment. But I also have another way to do it, which I create seismic scores. I'm not a musician, so they look like this, what I do. And I research all the seismic activity that happened in a specific place. For example, the first one I did was in Mexico. So I researched all the earthquakes that are happening in Mexico in the last 50 years, and I put them all together in a score that lasted like 10 minutes. And when I went to Mexico, I played the drum, so the people from Mexico could hear how the country had been moving seismically. So in this case, yeah, Earth is the composer of the piece, and I'm also like just the channel of it. And yeah, I also created the Cyborg Foundation with my colleague and my childhood friend, actually Neil Harbison. I will tell about him also later. And we basically created the Cyborg Foundation with three aims. One was to help humans to become cyborgs. The other one was to promote cyborg art as an artistic movement, and also to defend the cyborg rights, the right of uniting yourself to technology and the right of designing yourself and designing your own perception of reality and deciding how many senses and how many organs do you want to have. And actually with this, the word cyborg was created. I always been very, as I told you, before I wasn't interested in technology at all. And actually cyborg, I wasn't even interested in science fiction. I was always interested in nature and art. For me, it was very far. But actually the first people that said that we were cyborgs were journalists. We never thought about this word. But then researching this, this word was created by Manfred Kleins and Nathan Klein. And actually NASA asked them to write an article. And they decided, this was in the 60s, and they decided that we needed another word apart from bionic, something else. And then they created the word cyborg. And for them, cyborg was, they had this idea that in human nature is to go to space and to explore, to go further the Earth. And they said, instead of creating spaceships in order to live in space, we should modify ourselves in order to survive in other atmospheres, like in space. So they created the word cyborg. It's like the design of ourselves in order to survive in other atmospheres. So we take this word and we say, okay, we should modify or design ourselves in order to understand better Earth itself. So we like the word, the beginning of this word. And actually, Manfred Klein, Nathan Klein died many years ago, but Manfred Klein, he died just like a month ago. And when he lived, Neil and I went to visit him. He lived in South California, and he was like this very old man with very long white beard. And we went to ask him what the word cyborg meant, if it was still the same. And he took many days to reply. His answer took 3 days, so I cannot presume that. But it's something that it made us laugh. Is like he wanted to sue Terminator and all the science fiction movies because they used his word in a very bad way. So kind of like that. Well, never mind. So the word cyborg has been using in many different ways. So from the Cyborg Foundation, we decided that for us, being a cyborg, it's an identity. You don't need to have technology in your body in order to define a cyborg, but we want to categorize with 3 different ways. We thought that one could be a psychological cyborg, which is like the feeling of being united to technology. Like maybe most of you are already psychological cyborgs. When your mobile phone is running out of battery, you say, I'm running out of battery, instead of saying, my mobile phone is running out of battery. So you already have this psychological union with the technology. One could be a biological cyborg, which is like the physical union with cybernetics, with technology. And one could be a neurological cyborg, which is like the modification of the mind because you've been united with technology for so long. And then from some months ago, I realized there's another way of being a cyborg. Last summer, I had this Seismic Sense for almost 7 years. And this summer, I decided to take the implants out. This was actually more scary than put the implants in. But in some way, I needed a change. I wanted to experience something different. And for me, the most drastic thing I could do was to take the implants out for now. And then when I did it, I thought that everything would change. That I didn't know if I would be a cyborg or not, and all these questions came. And then when I took them out, it was this very weird thing that I could still feel the vibrations, even if I didn't have the implants in, because I had it for so long. And then this reminded me to the phantom limb effect, like these people that have the arm and then they lose the arm, they still feel that they have the arm because it feels like they're itching or aching. So I had this phantom effect on me, like I could still feel the vibrations, but I didn't have the implant. So I thought maybe I am a phantom cyborg now because I have these feelings even I don't have the implant. Now it goes away. It's been going away, and now I'm already thinking about what my next sense would be. I can tell you later. But yeah, so I have this new term. It's a phantom cyborg. This is like how I took them out. It's just gross. Also, apart from being a cyborg, we were wondering about that actually we don't feel 100% humans because we have a new sense and a new body part that is now defined as a human sense or a human body part. Also, I guess this big transhuman movement that everyone has its own opinion about it. But we wanted to be a bit different from the transhumanists because usually the transhumanist is very human focused. It's all about the humans. And there's a bit of this hierarchy feeling of it, that it's the modification of the humankind in order to be better or to improve. And we don't feel that at all, because maybe feeling earthquakes is worse. I think it's a very subjective and personal decision to have new senses or not. And it doesn't mean that it's better or it's worse. It's just a different experience of reality. So we like this more horizontal line of modification, and also taking consideration other species. So we felt more that we like to be more like trans species. We feel like more trans species, and also because we don't feel 100% human. And a good example of who feels trans species is my friend Neil, that he has an antenna implanted in his skull. An antenna is not a human organ. It belongs to the animal kingdom. So, and I have this good story about this. I don't know if you know him, but he has this antenna implanted in the skull that transforms color waves into vibrations in the skull, and this becomes sound. So he can hear colors from ultraviolet until infrared. And he calls this the sonochromatic sense. And when he wanted to implant this antenna in the skull, he went to the hospital and asked if they could do that. And then the hospital said he had to talk to the bioethical committee. So he went and gave a talk to them. And actually the answer, they said no, they wouldn't do that. And actually they gave him 3 reasons: that it wasn't necessary, that it could be dangerous. They were worried about the image of someone walking in as a man and coming out with someone with an antenna. And actually, we find a parallelism with the transgender community. The reasons are very different, but the social reaction is quite similar. Like the same thing happened in the 30s when if a man felt like they wanted to have the body of a woman, they feel like a woman and want to have surgery. The reasons that they were given, they were the same, that it wasn't necessary, that it could be dangerous, and they were worried about the image if someone walked in as a man and came out as a woman. So we hope that in the future it will be normal to have surgeries for new senses and new body parts, and we can have surgery in peace, or like it will be more normal. And so last year in 2017, we founded the Transpecies Society in Barcelona with also Manel de Aguas, another artist. And yeah, we founded because we wanted to give voice to people that don't feel 100% human. There's many reasons for that people don't feel 100% human. We don't feel 100% human because we're united to technology, but there's other people that don't feel 100% humans for other reasons. Also, I like to comment, I really like the logo of the Transpecies Society. Actually, in the photo, it looks united, but the idea is like that it's an open circle. Sometimes this, when I go to debate, so some people have this very rigid or close idea of the human, like if we have always been like this, but we haven't always been like we are as human. No, we used to be a bacteria on the sea, then yeah, we were a species on the sea, then we came out, we went on the trees, now we are humans, and then maybe we'll become something else. So we always have been in constant transformation. So we don't think that we are a closed circle, we are open circle, that we keep transforming and evolving. And now with technology, maybe we can take part of this evolution, this transformation, and decide how we want to be, how many senses we want to have. So it's, yeah. There are some examples of other senses that we have, or other experiments. Actually, Neil and I, we were invited in Brazil to do a workshop for a week. And we had like 15 engineers very dedicated, and they said, okay, what can we do together? And actually I have a tooth missing in my mouth, and Neil had 2 teeth missing in his mouth. So we decided to do a tooth that we could communicate with each other. So Neil had a tooth implanted in his mouth, and I had a tooth implanted in my mouth. And whenever I click like this, he would feel a vibration whenever he clicked the teeth like this. I would feel a vibration, and we both know the Morse code, so we will actually be able to communicate by Morse code by clicking our teeth. So we call this a transcendental communication system because we're able to communicate to each other from tooth to tooth. And we did like a little experiment, like a little performance at the end of the workshop. I was sitting at the end of a table, and Neil was sitting in the other end of the table looking backwards, and then the audience would write the word, and then it would be like clicking, and then Neil would write the word. So it was like the first experiment of the Bluetooth communication system. And it was actually made by Bluetooth, so it was actually a real Bluetooth system in our mouth. It's weird because I cannot hear you, so I feel like I'm talking to myself. Thank God I see people. Yeah, and this system, this system actually could work for people that cannot move at all their body, no, like they can just click their mouth, and also maybe it could work in space because there's no, you don't use air, you just use the click of your mouth. So there's many. This is just the first try out, but it can be used in many ways. In Barcelona, we have the Cyborg Foundation labs. This is Phoenix. He's like our doctor in a way. He's the one who helps to develop all other sensors. And for example, this is Manel de Aguas. He's the one that we created the Transpecies Society with, and he's a photographer, and he's always been interested in the weather and in rain and in the water. So he wanted a new sense that was related to that. So it's still in process, but now he has this type of fins, I think it's called in English, that can feel the atmospheric pressure and humidity. And if you know the atmospheric pressure, you can know if it's going to rain or if it's going to be sunny. So he actually feels the weather. So he's actually the weatherman with this new sense. Another sense that we are doing in the Cyborg Foundation is to sense the quality of air, to know if it's very polluted or not. And maybe we all had this, maybe our way of going home would be different because we would feel if it's, we would choose maybe the less polluted way to go home if we had this sense. Yeah, I don't know if I told you, but Neil had two spaces in his mouth. So the other one, we filled it up with a tooth that created light, so he could have bioluminescence light for himself. He thinks that he's useful, no? Because, for example, if you're looking for the keys when it's dark, you can click your mouth and have light coming out from your mouth. But the problem is that we also work by clicking. So whenever he was eating, the light would go on and off. So it wasn't that good. We have to find another system of creating light by ourselves. This is Joe Degning, another artist, and he developed like this echolocation, like feeling what's behind, but he did a little upgrade. He can feel also the temperature of the objects that we have behind. So so in a way, maybe he will be able to know if it's a live body or it's just an object, what it's coming behind. Yeah, and he feels the vibration in the cheekbones. This is about Brazil. He did a project of perceiving the ultraviolet light. And actually this also can be very useful, no, for all of us. For example, if we could all perceive the ultraviolet light, maybe our way of going to the beach would be very different because you can know if it's very damaging today or not. Magnetic hair implant, yeah, this is, and I don't know if there are many balls people here, but I think it's a cool look if someone doesn't have hair. This idea is also a prototype, but it's how it is to have these magnetic hair implants that can react to the magnetic field. So, for example, if you go walk by a fridge, your hair would move around the fridge, so you will have a hair that will react. The prototype was a student that this part of the body is called solar plexus. So this idea is the idea is to be connected to the heat of the sun. So this will connect you to the sun. The cosmic sense is by Karl Lander. He can perceive the cosmic ray by sound in his ears. And yeah, and these are some of the examples, but basically all these senses are related to the natural world, and we get inspired by the senses that other animals have. So all these senses help us to also to realize how our planet is actually, and to connect in a deeper way to Earth, for example. And also what I've found very interesting, that now I define myself as a cyborg. I don't feel closer to robots, to machines. I feel closer to Earth, because when I had feeling earthquakes for so long, I actually had a more profound connection to the Earth, and I can feel that it's constantly alive and moving. So, and now that I don't feel closer to robots and machines, I feel actually closer to the Earth and maybe other animals, because I can get inspired of the senses that they have. Sometimes we don't need to think about science fiction or unnatural things. If we take a look of natural senses of other animals, it's amazing. No? For example, other animals can fly. Other animals can perceive ultraviolet, infrared, infrasound. They can create light by themselves. Even immortality already exists in nature, because there's a jellyfish that keeps regenerating. So sometimes, yeah, what we think is very natural is actually very, very natural, and it really inspires us to see how other species live. And because these senses connect us to this reality that we cannot perceive, we think that we do revealed reality. We don't think that we do virtual reality or augmented reality. We feel that we are revealing a reality that already exists. So with these new senses, we connect it in a deeper way. It's like revealing something that is hidden. So for me, being a cyborg artist, what I like, it's like being a bit like an explorer of your own planet. Also, yeah, another, yeah, it doesn't mean anything, the photo, just for me to remember to tell you that we also feel that for hundreds and hundreds of years, humans have been changing the planet in order to live more comfortable. But in the times that we live, maybe it's more necessary to design ourselves in order to adapt better to actually the planet we live in. For example, after perceiving earthquakes for so long, for me, it's strange to know that actually, how is it possible that we have been building such big cities at the edge of the tectonic plates that actually are very dangerous places to live? No, I think that humankind have been living in a way ignoring how our planet actually works. So maybe it's time to stop designing the planet and start designing ourselves in order to understand better where we are and where we live. Like all us animals have done, that they've been able to adapt better without changing what we have around. Yeah, and just to end, when I was perceiving earthquakes, I also wanted to perceive the moonquakes, and I did, but I couldn't do it in real time because I couldn't find the data in real time, but I did it from some of the moonquakes that I have from the past. And I like this because this moonquakes is also seismic activity on the moon, not because of tectonic plates, but for other reasons. It shakes. I want to connect to this. And actually, my next sense, I wanted something to be connected to the ocean and to the space. And I have I don't know, I went diving like 2 years ago for the first time, and the feeling I had of going under the water, it's the same feeling I imagine of flying in space. So I feel that it's very related, the ocean and the space. And actually was talking to Neil, it's like, I want a new sense. I want the new sense or to the ocean, to the space. And he was like, well, then maybe we should feel something with the moon, because actually the moon, it's both. It's in space and it reacts to the water. So I'm still looking for maybe the distance of the moon or something related to that. And what I want to tell is that also, feeling these things that happen in space, we invented a word, it's called senstronaut. So we no longer need to go physically in space in order to perceive space. We can remain on Earth and have a new sense that explore space, and we call this to be a sense for now. And I think it's important for us also to create new words and invent new words, because these help. I think it's the nice part. Like we new identities, new words, new ways of defining things. Then it helps us to understand the planet or life in a new way. I think it's very necessary for us. Yeah, and just to end, it's just like for me, just want to encourage you all to see technology and to use technology not in a way to distance yourself from nature or to the planet, but instead getting closer to nature, to other animals, and also to space. And yeah, that's my talk now. If you have any questions.
Yeah, so
and now I don't know how to
Moon,
stop
yes,
sharing.
can you hear me? So basically,
Yes.
many of the participants have been sending actually messages on the chat saying, so if you want to, if you open that, then you're going to see a few selection here. You have questions which are regarding, you know, how this works. Yeah, can you see them? So maybe you can start like having a look. You have a question about, you know, data and data collection and whether or not, you know, was the right to access this data, and who else is looking at this. You know,
Yeah, all the data of that goes online, it's open. I mean, there's so many, also in the space, there's so many data that they cannot collect that you can find. The seismic data is online, and it's open.
But more like when Neil and you are in communication, or when Neil is receiving, I guess, data from space, how does that is being protected? His own data, or I guess that's the question. I mean, have a look, it's there from Lens. Because in this talk you and Neil did for Google, Neil mentioned that there were 5 people around the world that are able to send data.
No,
I just wanted to know, and following up from that question, you have another question about how does that work to send him data?
Yeah, the new thing is because he has internet, so he allows 5 people to connect to him, but it's not open. And then with the data that we use, it's open. Like we find the Hubble, I think it's Hubble, I don't know, like satellites that goes around the Earth, and all these data you can. Correct. And it's online now. I actually don't know exactly how, but in NASA you can find open data.
And following up from that, Laulu had a question about the actual technology of this. I mean, I don't know if maybe we can just call this, like, and you can just, Laulu, are you here? You can just ask your question, no?
Yeah.
Laulu?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Hi, Moon.
Amazing.
Can you hear me?
Hey.
Oh, okay. So I was saying the name, that's okay, it's real clever. Then my first question, the implants, any health challenges yet? Should I just read everything, or like I give you time to answer the questions?
Maybe just ask one question, because there is so many people that are asking questions. So just one question rule. Sorry.
Okay, let me see. I think my most important question would be the kaleidoscopic vision experiment. How did you feel not seeing humans for 3 months? Or did you like take it off at night or something?
Well, something with humans, so I didn't understand.
I didn't understand the question either.
Okay, I'll choose on that question. Any health challenges from the implants yet?
Of the transpecies?
The implants. Any health challenges yet?
What we use is, I think I'm answering this. We do in biomaterials, so it's material that it can be on the skin. And first, so for us, I think this is something important for us, that it's not about the body modification, it's more about how the mind modification, like to change your own perception. So for me, the implant is the last thing. First, I had it outside for a long time, then I put it like you have to see where to put it and how to put it and get used to it. and then the very last thing is to implant it. And yeah, the implant, it was actually more for a practical use, because first I had it, I had to get used outside. Actually, for me, I think it was more painful the earrings, because I had allergy in the earrings than actually the implant. But it depends on implant. Everything is always different, everybody. So it's there's no.
And Antoine and Mila, I guess you had some similar questions. So maybe Antoine, you can ask the first question, and Mila, you can ask the follow-up.
My question is that, you know, that when people go blind, for instance, they develop a better sense for hearing. And I wonder if like developing new senses does not entail the fact that your other senses are less sensitive. And in that point, like we're supposed to be like augmented humans we cannot read a map anymore. We lost our sense of orientation, and we're incapable of reading the sky for weather forecast. We have to look to go on the internet. So maybe we're diminished human now because of those new senses. What are the risks of being a cyborg?
I think you're right. I mean, as I tell, no, we haven't always been the same. And then also our context is very different. Definitely before we were able to orientate better, but now because of the technologies, our capabilities changes and our way of interacting with them change. That's why, for me, I think it's a natural process for me to unite to this technology, because it's a part of our society and our lifestyle. For me, ignoring the technology wouldn't be natural, because I live in Barcelona and I have a smartphone and a computer. So it's about how I unite to this technology in order to actually reconnect to nature. So I struggle a lot with this sometimes, because for me, or for us, like this idea of cyborg is a bit like sometimes going backwards, like some indigenous would live. For example, building houses that were more prepared to, if the earth moved, as you said, being able to feel the magnetic north like dolphins have without using the phone. But in a way you use it, but in a more natural way of using the technology. So it's a bit like going backwards, but in the context that you live now. And yeah, the senses, maybe I know that at the beginning I was very distracted. So I had problems with focus because I had so much input, but I also can say that the brain adapts very quick, or adapts very easily to the new inputs. I don't know if I lost or gained a sense. Maybe people from around me can say that. I don't know. I don't smell that well. Maybe it has something to do with the seismic sense. I don't know.
Mila, do you want to follow up? Like, there was 2 questions from Antoine, and I think you both were. Yeah, no?
Was I supposed to ask the second question, or is it Mila's turn now?
I think Mila, we just changed a bit, so.
Yeah, I just had to unmute. Yeah, I'm just, I guess, interested in. Oh,
you are in space. I know.
So here I am beaming in. I'm interested in, I guess, the like the cost of these modifications and the kind of research, you know, like the accessibility of doing these things to yourself or other people, whatever, and just like feasibility of actually doing these things.
Like the reason I think is just it's curiosity and exploration, and bringing things, I mean, pushing the things about doing things to other people. From the Cyborg Foundation, we would never do it, I think, because it's a very personal choice. I think everyone have to decide what senses they want to have, and if they want to. And also, I wouldn't do it to another animal. I think this is a very personal choice, and this is why it's so personal, actually. And just remember that I don't think that for me that everyone should feel earthquakes. I mean, it was interesting for me because it was through movement, and then I kept looking for movement until I ended up with the most huge and natural movement I could think of. But I think the beautiful thing about it is that everyone can decide what sense do they want to have. Like, for example, Neil, it made sense color, and now he's developing the the sense of time. But he's very obsessed with time. Manel, the weather. And then the nice thing is, like, what would you like to sense? There's so many things, and I think this is the beautiful, that we can all design and decide how we want to perceive reality. That's why for me, it's not like something massive. It's more like a personal research. And I end up, for me, it's the personal research and exploration. And I realize that I keep changing. I get bored easily, I guess, and I need to have new inputs and new changes. And that's why maybe I kept changing what I wanted to perceive, and now I wanted to perceive something else. So I guess it's a personal research and an exploration of reality. And for me, it's very exciting. Also, like this thing of something is happening, that it's natural, and then you weigh, and just because of your senses, you're experiencing very differently. For example, you can be in the same room, yourself, your dog, and a bee, and the way you experience that room is very different because of the senses and your body parts. And I found that very exciting. It's like, I guess it's like a type of drug, that you can feel, you extend the reality. I don't know if that was what you asked. Sorry.
Not really, but that's okay.
So ask again. I don't know. I think
the question was about privilege, right? That's what you.
Okay.
Yeah, and like the money of it.
Okay. So okay. So this is also something that people ask a lot. Actually, the beginning that we've done this, like, for example, the earrings were just like 15 euros. So, like, the new sensor we have, it were cheaper than an iPhone. Sometimes people think that everything is very expensive, but it's with very simple technology, you can put it in your body and change your perception of reality with simple technology. And I don't think these rich people want to be a cyborg. It's more about people who are curiosity. It's not about the money or not. And especially also, it makes me think about now, because everyone is so used to technology, and actually teenagers can modify technology, and then they can program very easily. I think it really belongs to everyone, and I think it should be that way. For example, I also think that hackers are very important. I see them as the anarchists a bit of our generation, because there's some technology that is given to us that is set up, like, for example, the laptop of the Mac things, and they are able to hack it and to make it more available to people, and to decide how this technology can be. So I think it's very important that when we have the technology, we wonder how we can use it and change it and hack it and make it more available to everyone. So I don't think rich people will become cyborgs. I think just curiosity and people who are willing to experiment.
Mohamed, one last question. I'm sorry, everybody. Like, last question, not two, one question. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. So, in a sense, animals develop these senses for survival over the years, and they are superior on us on having these senses, and it's the only superiority they might have in the current time. So, and in the same, in a thinking and from a different perspective, wouldn't trials like this be also another trial for human to be superior over animals in trying to force the brain to collect data that maybe we should not be in need to collect, or our mind capacity is not there to handle, or our actual anxiety of intaking this much rapid data can be hurting. There is, like, I want to know about the perspective of how this can also end up being just like a try to make humans more superior.
I don't see it as a superior. I see it as a different experience. Of we are another species, so they do it their way, we do it our way, no? But they're also like this collecting date. A lot. Some people ask me this. I don't save it anywhere. It's just like when it comes, it goes like in the same way I hear music, but I don't record everything I hear. It's just something that is there, and it makes me change the experience of reality. And yeah, of course, we don't need to survive this. We need very little to survive in, I think, in, well, little, no, we need to be warm and all this, but I don't think it's about need, what we do. It's that's why I see it as an art. It's just an experience, an experimentation of your own reality. I don't see, I think it's very different. That's why I'm not sure if animals do art or not. I mean, human species, I think, or I can talk to myself, we wonder, no? And also, like, society allows artists and philosophers again to wonder about life and to create your own point of view, and that's why we use art to understand what we are, to express it somehow. And this is why I see it as an artistic, not as anything about survival. And I don't think, again, it's not about feeling superior. Actually feeling maybe, or I guess my wish is that if you create and you feel more connected to Earth and to other animals, you can create more empathy, because then you can relate and to understand them better. So maybe if we all extend our senses and we feel more connected to the other species and to the Earth, we can also understand them better and not eat them or treat them bad because you establish a connection. So I feel that it can create a lot of empathy also to feel closer to them, not superior. But of course, this is very personal. I mean, humans have demonstrated that we are very evil species. So for some people, we'll use this to manipulate and to get power and to feel superior, and some humans not. But this is just in the human nature. I don't think it has to do with technology or united yourself to technology.
Last question related to that as well. Michaela, you were asking a question about autism. Do you want to?
About autism?
Autism and discussing with Other.
Okay. I wanted to ask more, about, because what you're experiencing is extremely abstract and physical, and it's your own it really shapes your psychological experience, which might alienate you from others. So I was interested in hearing about challenges that you've been facing or you've had in experiencing, in communicating what you experience to others, and maybe techniques that you've developed to help you do so in both artistic and non-artistic contexts.
Yeah, it's very personal, very inside, no? As you said, and sometimes it's difficult to communicate, and that's why I guess I need to use other art forms in order to share what I feel. For now, and I think this is my channel, doing the performances, using the sound and the body. Also now, and using sculptures, and now I'm also creating a stage piece that people can relate more about the ideas that I experienced. But yeah, I think it's a long process, and then I realize how to do things while I'm in it, you know. Sometimes, also like with Seismic Sense, first I put it somewhere and then I keep changing, because it's when I'm in it that I see that I can do it differently. Or for example, so it's through the experiment that I keep realizing other things. And I just remember something about what he asked before, was about the other people. As I said before, like, I think everyone is different, and to have new inputs, it works for me. But because some people, it's okay to have lots of input, but it doesn't work for everyone. Some people want actually to have less senses because they are too sensitive. maybe I'm not as sensitive as some other people. That's why I think it's a very personal experience and exploration, this union and these extending senses.